podcast. Hey there, welcome back to another episode of You Should Read This. My name is Christina and I am the teen librarian at the Thayer Public Library. I'm back with you for the month of March with another episode, and for you for the month of March, I have several Heard It on a Podcast recommendations. Now, before I give you the recommendations, let me tell you more about our Book in a Bag pick. If you didn't already know, Book in a Bag and You Should Read This now have the same theme. You don't have to have done Book in a Bag in order to enjoy these recommendations. Hopefully, whether you did it or not, you will find something here you'll want to read. But for those of you that did not get a chance to try out Book in a Bag, let me tell you more about this month's pick. For Heard It on a Podcast, our pick was All These Bodies by Kendar Blake, What It's About, Summer of 1958, a string of murders in the Midwest. The bloodless murders, all the victims are left drained entirely of blood, and no suspects are ever found. But how could that be possible? And that couldn't possibly happen to a small town, right? Then one fateful night, a girl is found in Minnesota at the scene of the final murders. And she chooses the sheriff's son, Michael, to tell her story. This story is based off of the real bloodless murders that actually happened back in the 1950s and is further explained in the author's note in the beginning of the book. Why you should read it. Don't let the cover fool you. Our protagonist is Michael, the sheriff's son, and he is a very interesting character. Particularly, he has an interest in journalism and pursuing it as a career. True crime enthusiasts, podcasters, and fans of slightly supernatural, rejoice. This pick is for you. This one can be enjoyed physically or on audio and will leave you guessing until the very end. So that was our Book in a Bag pick for the month of March. If you haven't had a chance to check it out yet, I encourage you to do so. It is a Bram Stoker Award finalist for 2022, and it's also just a really fun one that I personally enjoyed as well. Next up, we have our Newbie Pick, and for this month, I am going with Anatomy, a Love Story by Dana Schwartz. What it's about: Edinburgh, 1817. Hazel is a girl from a wealthy family who just wants to be a surgeon more than she wants to be married. And Jack is living gig to gig as a resurrection man, just trying to survive in a city that's very easy to die. And that's exactly how they meet, over someone else's death. Why you should read it. If you're a fan of historical fiction or true crime, this one might be for you. It is dual point of view and surprisingly funny for such a grim topic. If you do like this Reese Witherspoon book club pick, you might want to also check out the author's podcast, Noble Blood. Next up is our Oldie Pick, and for this I went with I Hope You're Listening by Tom Ryan. What it's about: Delia D. Skinner, 17, is known as the girl who wasn't taken. 10 years ago, she witnessed the abduction of her best friend, Sibby, and though she told the police everything she remembered, it wasn't enough. Sibby was never seen again. At night, Dee deals with her guilt by becoming someone else. The Seeker, the anonymous voice behind the popular true crime podcast Radio Silent, which features missing person cases and works with other online sleuths to solve them. When another girl goes missing, Dee finds a chance to get answers. Why you should read it. This YA mystery is definitely for fans of true crime podcasts, and it's enjoyable to read or listen to on audiobook. Trust me, this one is going to keep you engaged from beginning to end, just trying to solve the case with the main character. Next up is our audiobook pick, and for this I am going with The Girls Are Never Gone by Sarah Glenn Marsh. What it's about: Dare Chase doesn't believe in ghosts. Privately, she's a supernatural skeptic, but publicly she's keeping her doubts to herself because she's the new voice of Attachments, her brand new paranormal investigation podcast. And she needs her ghost-loving listeners to tune in. That's what brings her to Arrington Estate. 30 years ago, teenager Athleen Bell drowned in Arrington's Lake, and legend says her spirit haunts the estate. Why you should read it. Dare is a really cool main character. She has diabetes, a support dog, and her new podcast. All of these things come up in conversation with characters who are also staying in this estate and really just create this realistic fiction part to this paranormal story. This book is layered. It is one part mystery, one part horror, and another part supernatural suspense, and all around fun. Last but not least, I have the graphic novel pick. And for this month, I am going with Bubble by Jordan Morris. What it's about: Morgan, brush-born and bubble-raised, is fully capable of fending off an imp attack on a morning jog. She has a chill day job, recreationally killing imps, then taking that imp home to her roommate and her BFF. But cracks appear in her tidy life when one of those imps nearly murders the delivery guy in her apartment, accidentally transforming him into a brush-powered mutant in the process. Why you should read it. Based on the podcast, Bubble is a hilarious high-energy graphic novel with a satirical take on the gig economy. The Hunter app that Morgan uses is like the Uber of monster hunting. And those are all of our picks for the month of March. These were all inspired either by podcasts, or the author themselves has a podcast, or it might just be something that you feel like you would hear about on a podcast. Some of them are a little more true crime and mystery, and some of them are just completely different and entertaining to listen to, or in this case, to read. I hope you enjoy all of those picks. Next month, our book in a bag and you should read this theme is Dark School Vibes. Keep an eye on registration for Book in a Bag. It opens just before this video comes out. This video comes out on the 29th of March. And in terms of You Should Read This, the episode for Dark School Vibes will come out later in April. So I hope to see you then. I'm gonna get back to listening to my podcast. I forgot how I set my scripts up. Hello, backside to the users. I need to do that all again.